All right, guys, welcome. Welcome to another stream here with Swiss. Today, I'm going to attempt to answer a question that I received from Mr. John Taylor on YouTube, and it's a difficult question to answer. I think we have tried answering these questions on multiple occasions during interviews, during other videos. Pretty much every single video that I have put together on YouTube kind of deals with this question. And today, I think I'm going to try to summarize and reiterate some of those points because I think this is a question that we need to be consistently asking ourselves and attempt to answer that question going forward on a daily basis, especially while we are in a situation where we would like to onboard more people to join our little universe here inside Decentraland. So, what is the question? You have probably already guessed it. The question is, what is the potential of Decentraland? And I think this is just another way of asking the same question, such as, what is Decentraland for? Is it going to succeed? And I think a lot of people are looking for some sort of investment advice here because they know that they could theoretically easily invest into a coin and potentially have some sort of exposure to the success of Decentraland. So I definitely want to distance myself from any kind of financial advice here. I personally am in Decentraland not because of mana and not because I consider it an investment. Now, a lot of people wouldn't believe that. Most people in Decentraland, they're here because they own mana and are invested in this project, and they would like it to succeed to pump their bags. I'm not here for this purpose. I'm here because I enjoy the actual virtual reality. I enjoy this independent world. I enjoy the idea of having the capability of building something in Decentraland the way I want it. I would like to, without any rules. This liberty is something that I do find interesting, but I don't want to start answering this question just yet. Yeah, does Decentraland have any potential? Now, I think, and this whole video is going to be a brainstorming session. So if you expect some extraordinary entertainment more than this, hello, you will not get out of this video. So this is really an intellectual exercise where I will be trying to cover a couple of points for Mr. John Taylor. So I think the concept of a virtual world has proven itself on multiple occasions, right? For the most part, all of us are familiar with centralized solutions of virtual worlds, and you can pick any major game that has a virtual experience, such as World of Warcraft, Ultima Online, whatever your game is. The history goes back over 20 years. The idea of having a virtual world and having multiple players globally joining that world and interact and do stuff together has been around for a long time. And the idea of owning real estate and property inside the game has been around for a very long time too. So these ideas are not new. These are proven concepts that the idea of replicating the real world online has worked, and it has worked really well. It's been a success each single time. I mean, today you have kids playing on Roblox, and I'm not familiar with the game, but I've seen certain versions of it, and it's hilarious what people are doing on those platforms and how they creatively use and abuse the platform. So, long story short, I think fundamentally we can say that there is a demand for virtual worlds, and that demand is going to grow no matter what. And so, just from that point of view, having Decentraland being part of that ecosystem makes sense. Now, the other question is, can Decentraland differentiate itself from other worlds? And can it be special enough to become that unicorn among others? And the other question is, does it have to be? Because maybe it doesn't have to be. Maybe it just has to be in one other world with a different set of rules and possibilities, with a different design that attracts a certain number of people. And once you attract that number of people, it becomes a marketplace that companies, businesses, and other players will feel attracted to, because there is an audience, there is someone to advertise to, there is someone to interact with, there are customers to acquire. It's just going to be another platform where business can take place, whatever type of business we are talking about, right? So this is from a business point of view. And from a user point of view, I think we do need platforms where we can remove ourselves from our regular real life. We do need these platforms. Until now, social media has done this job. But within social media, they have forced a to use you were forced to use your own identity for the most part, right? If we talk about Facebook or Twitter, well, Twitter probably doesn't count here, but there is a benefit of attaching your identity to those platforms, because you can then leverage your reputation on those platforms and your point of views to boost your personal brand, be it in a professional or in a personal sense. So somehow those 2D social networks have fulfilled this purpose extremely successfully. I mean, just look at Facebook, right? But they were lacking something. And maybe this idea of having a second identity uh, does also play into it, and maybe this is why Twitter is so successful. But again, these concepts start to kind of interact and mix. So I think there is from the user point of view, there is also a demand for having a social platform. And the only other innovation that has not been tapped into is to have a visual presence, right? I mean, we have seen 2D pictures, profile pictures, but we haven't seen like avatars yet. But this trend has been, I remember when I joined the internet during the CompuServe times, there was an avatar game already, and it was already popular back then on a dial-up connection. So there is a demand from the user side of interacting virtually. An innate need. So in this case, we do have a demand from both sides. We have a demand from the user side, and we have a demand from the business point of view. And once you have these components converge on a platform, a certain chemistry can either ignite a new trend or not. And I think Decentraland is like one bet on these natural phenomena of being human and seeking social interaction, and then also using these social interactions for profit. So I think the fundamentals are there. So I think this is a very easy way of trying to answer the question of what is the potential of Decentraland. I mean, at the minimum, its potential is to become part of a larger ecosystem, part of a larger marketplace where people can do the things that they've always done and the things that they will always be doing, exchanging information and goods, gaining status and reputation. So I think that's one way of answering the question. But of course, I'm going to go deeper here. And one thing I learned actually is that I have removed my stats of how many people are actually watching, and that means I have also no visibility on any potential comments. But for the most part, on this tiny channel, people tend to watch that stuff after the stream. The cool thing about having a live stream for these type of topics is that you're under a certain pressure to unwrap your thoughts immediately without having the possibility of, having a switch off button. So I think for certain kind of questions, a live format is just the best way to go. So let's keep on going. And by the way, my apologies that I do not wear a shirt today. This has been something that I started yesterday and I just love it. And I think I'm going to go with it for a while. So for the sensible natures among you, please close your eyes. So let's go back. Oh, this it's going to be difficult to get back to the topic after that comment. Hold on. What is the potential of Decentraland? I've made a couple of notes here. So I think one thing that you need to know is that, like, right now, Decentraland is an unfinished product. It's as unfinished as it can get, and sometimes we are asking ourselves why we are actually spending time in Decentraland. Because if I just show you around here, I'm standing on some kind of structure. For the most part, you cannot really see far. So technologically, we're not super advanced. And most of the land is, like this green territory here down there. So I'm standing at one of the most populated squares. And unfortunately, technologically, right now, it feels like we are in an alpha version. So, but we need to look beyond that. And I think this is the reason why most of us are kind of sticking with the platform. You need to look beyond that. And the best experiences inside Decentraland today are always connected to some sort of social event. Most great experiences that I had was when you are with a group of people, when you can use the audio chat in world to just be human and to maybe even slightly play your role that you have chosen for yourself, being a certain character. Maybe the joy is actually that you don't have to be you, that you are in your normal regular life. You can tweak that personality to somebody else, or maybe you are actually tweaking your personality in real life, and in Decentraland you could be the real you. So I think those experiences, when we travel together, when we move to different locations, when we listen to each other, when we ask each other questions, when we get to observe the others, how they think, reflect, and behave, I think this part is the most beautiful part about Decentraland. And you can probably get a lot of that stuff also on other platforms. And this just quickly takes me back to your question, John. You said, like, what is the potential of this game? Now, I think this needs to be addressed right from the start. For the most part, people in Decentraland do not consider Decentraland to be a game. I'm almost would go as far as saying it's a bit of an insult to this world to call it a game. And I'm just going to go freestyle now and completely deviate from my notes and quickly checking here. There is 3 people watching. This is amazing. So a game would mean to me that while we are recording this video, there could be like 3 people flying through in the background trying to kill each other, and someone would blast into pieces and coins would fly out, and other people would come and collect the coins. There's going to be some kind of war here. For me, this is what a gaming platform would kind of represent. There is some kind of theme, some topic, and some kind of pursuit of a specific goal. We don't have this in Decentraland at all, and I do not see that happening. Right? I do not think that in this world, as you can see now on the screen, that there is going to be some kind of gameplay here. For me, this was clear right from the start. Decentraland is going to be a map, a 3D map that you can own and that you can co-design. And I have a screenshot from a game I used to play, and this is actually the only game I've ever played seriously. And hopefully I will find the screenshot here. It was Ultima Online. Some of the older generations here might actually still know it. I'm still looking for the screenshot here. So here is one screenshot of that, right? So this is the bank of Ultima Online. This is the most central location in a specific city. And you have all of these people here gathering around at the bank. And you always know that as soon as you log in into Ultima Online, no matter where you are, if you go to that specific location of 2 or 3 towns, you will always meet 30 to 40 or 200 or maybe even 800 people gathering, trading, discussing, and moving on to dungeons to fulfill objectives or recruiting into their guilds. It was always cool to just log in and hang out at the bank without actually playing anything. So for me, this was the most attractive component of Ultima Online, that I could own land, I could buy house deeds and deploy those house deeds on my land, and that I could bring people from the bank through a portal to my home, show off my collectibles, trade directly inside my house, and store things on my property. There was a use case to having a property, and because it would increase the possibility of storing more items. So this is one example of how I see Decentraland not being a game. And the parallel to Ultima Online is that if you wanted to play, if you wanted to follow the story, you could go to dungeons, you could group up with your guild and move out to do something, but you didn't do it in the city. The city was really for repairing, the city was for buying goods, stocking up on supplies, meeting people, logging out. This was what the city was for, and for me, Decentraland is exactly that, right? It's a city for business, for commerce, for social relationships, and not for actual gameplay. So when you ask what potential does the game have, I don't know. I think this is not a game. And the second part of your question was, would it be possible for, let's say, some kind of console games to find a home here and be represented in Decentraland? And the question is an obvious yes. Any large enterprise or gaming company or business, if they're interested in setting up shop in Decentraland, could promote every single release of every single game on this platform. The question is not really there. The question is there target audience available on this platform, right? If they know that there is 10,000 people in Decentraland who are matching their demographics of people, let's say between 16 and 36, who are tech savvy and who have enjoyed games in the past, if they know that there's a 10,000 people on this platform of that demographic, then they will be interested in setting up shop here and having a representative office. And many companies did that already. The only issue is for now, all of these enterprises who have set up shop are either artists, like we see there on the left, or some kind of crypto businesses, like we see there on the right. So it's for now it's really limited to one or two industries, but definitely I think as soon as we move beyond the crypto environment, games must be present here to present the newest products, to maybe even launch some of their new weapons inside Decentraland. But this can only happen if the target audience is present here, right? So we're kind of starting slowly to develop the story, what the potential of Decentraland could be as a platform, as a map, as a city, as a launching gateway to all types of different worlds. And it's just one node in a network of many nodes that we will be calling the metaverse, right? And I think these ideas are not new. I think this is what pretty much everyone now, being part of any of those big games right now that are available in a decentralized fashion today, are understanding that this is where we are going. And frankly speaking, a lot of people that I have spoken to, they also believe in centralized solutions, because with centralized solutions, with competitive 3D environments, you have a much better performance already today. So I think Decentraland could also be a gateway to more centralized solutions. And I even think Decentraland should have their own centralized solutions. It's not always beneficial to have a decentralized infrastructure. It's only beneficial when we speak about ownership, about property, where you do want to register ownership on the blockchain. But frankly speaking, if I could walk inside that building and I could teleport myself into a new gaming environment, that game doesn't have to be decentralized. It can live on a centralized server somewhere. It could be highly performing. I I might be reincarnated into a different kind of avatar, but still with the same name and with the same associations of my identity in Decentraland. So I think the question of the potential of Decentraland is almost nonsensical, if you would forgive me, because the potential is unlimited as soon as you don't look at it as a game, but as a platform. Now, the thing is, now we have been speaking really in a very generic fashion about Decentraland. And I'm going to get into more details now. I'm just quickly going to check what's going on the streaming platform, if everything is going fine. Yes, everything is going fine. So if we get into the specifics of Decentraland, I think we have discussed this also many, many times. There are some factors that are key for the platform to succeed. And I'm going to go randomly at it. So one key factor is the ability to make money inside Decentraland. And to specify this, by making money, I don't mean to be a bartender or to have some kind of gig or job or being an event promoter for a business. I'm not talking about that. If that could exist, and that will probably exist, and I think to a degree this already exists with the casino setup that we have. But I mean, by actually farming money, by the platform itself needs to inflate and release value to users that spend time on the platform. I think if you look at Axis, for example, right, the fact that you can make more money using their platform than actually making a living in a third world country makes you understand why they have 20,000 daily users over long periods of time. And some people might argue this is not exactly the type of people you would like to have flooding your platform, and this may or may not be true, but it will definitely create a feeling of busyness and and usage, and it will help drive the performance of the hardware, and it will help beta test new features, having all those people constantly being present. And frankly speaking, I think young people will spend 24 hours a day inside the world making money if it's a significant amount. So I think the very first thing that we need to kind of solve is how do you, I mean, going back to the Ultima Online example. In Ultima Online, if you would go inside a dungeon, inside an easy dungeon with a simple weapon, you will be able to generate money by killing simple monsters. And you will spend hours and weeks trying to generate enough cash to upgrade yourself. But while you're doing that, you've been also gaining skills. So just by spending time and effort inside the platform, you are able to generate wealth. And I think we need to have this um, as um, as a foundation, right? So I think, let's see. I think this is the most important point. What else do we have? What else do we have? Okay, one other point which I consider extremely important within the economics and within the um, commercial environment of Decentraland that is going to be also key is the exchange of goods, right? We need to be able to exchange goods between players directly. We need to be able to set up NPCs or computer-based avatars in our lands or buildings where we can offer goods for sale, like these automated kind of salespeople. We need to be able to list products for sale within a building rather than being forced to sell on marketplaces such as OpenSea or the Decentraland marketplace. Like this, there would be and this is more for the insiders of Decentraland. I think this would create an incentive for you to actually spend time in the game walking through shopping streets, trying to get those Bitcoin glasses from a local store owner rather than having the possibility of compare everything online. I think this will promote specific locations on the map because that store has maybe special items you cannot get anywhere else. So the ability of distributing the marketplaces asymmetrically through the platform will generate these little shopping areas and commercial areas, and then the ability to exchange goods between players will amplify that. So this is something that will also add to the economics of the game and to the commercial viability of the game, along with the farming and the grinding for cash. What else do we have that would be important to kind of bring this platform to its full potential? And I'm probably going a little bit off track here from the original YouTube question, but I think these are the core questions that are going to come up with the DAO over the next 24 months. And I think we need to bring those into the general awareness of the population. What else do we have? So one thing that is going to be super important, and a lot of community members, especially from the creative community, have raised this, the ability to be more creative inside the platform. And there's only two ways that you can be creative today, is either by building or by using wearables to make yourself look special, right? These are the only two variables we have to express creativity: the way you look and what you build. Now, the whole building component, we have discussed this so many times already, so I'm not going to go into depth on it, but the ability to build outside of Blender, outside of the SDK, the ability to create asset packs, the ability to sell asset packs in the marketplace for users to be able to be creative without programming skills is going to be absolutely key. And I think we have taken an important step in that direction. But now we also need to have the ability to create, buy and sell asset packs, maybe in the form of NFTs. So I think this will definitely boost the creative possibilities of the platform, as this is going to be the very first time developers and designers can start monetizing their skills on a micro level by enriching the ecospace of modules, building modules, and so forth. And at the same time, the design of wearables has to be made possible. I know a lot of people oppose that point of view, and but the thing is, from what we have seen, there is clear evidence that a wearables designer is coming, and as soon as that wearables designer is going to be online, people will become more creative. People will come to the platform because they know they can design their own set of pants and their own set of hats, and if they can actually sell those, people will be able to start making calculations if it makes sense to create a collection. And if we get the licensing mechanisms right, it will not economically make sense to create a bad collection that is not going to be received well by the marketplace. And that means that people will have to announce and show off their collections prior to releasing those and generate interest prior to that. Maybe even sell those collections before they're minted and then use that money to mint those. This will create all sorts of mechanisms that will bring a lot of dynamics to the platform, and that will bring a lot of people that will suddenly be willing to spend time in Decentraland and maybe set up shop and maybe buy lands and therefore drive the whole ecosystem. So I think these are developments that will be absolutely crucial for Decentraland to live to its potential. And only once Decentraland develops its fundamental possibilities and economics and commercial viability, we can speak about the potential. Because at that point in time, you might have like 1,000 to 2,000 players regularly being online, and then businesses would start paying attention. Then they will have an audience to work with. They might even start recruiting their engineers from Decentraland because they know they can reach them here. So then you can start speaking about the potential. But until then, there is still a long way to go. So what else do we have? I mean, we can touch on virtual reality here for a second. And I'm quickly going to check first if the stream is going all right. Yes, the stream is going fine. What is VR going to bring to Decentraland? I think the I don't know if all of you have ever used VR glasses before. And I think before you have ever used those, you will not be fully understanding what I'm trying to say. But if you have, you know exactly what I'm referring to. Virtual reality allows you to have that physical experience, and that physical experience is undistinguishable. It's just it's totally immersive. And even if you are in a boring environment, just the fact that you jump down from a building makes you feel like you want to do it again. So there is this strange physical experience that your brain simulates for you that gives you pleasure, even if you are in a non-game, non-stimulating environment. Just experiencing that, walking through a street, walking inside your building, walking inside your building that you have built with your own furniture and with your own art pieces, just that possibility will enhance the experience inside Decentraland so largely that that you don't even need to have any kind of special interactivity. And if you add gaming, or if you add other people on top of that, or exchange of goods, or dancing, or whatever else you might do with other people in a 3D environment, once you add those things on top of that, I think just experiencing virtual reality will be a use case for Decentraland. If you don't do anything else inside Decentraland, just using your VR glasses to try out your VR experience, Decentraland could be a great place to be. You could just jump in without an account, jump into the world, test out your equipment, and see if you enjoy it, and then maybe become a part of the community. I don't know if this is exactly work out like if this could work out like that, but I think you see where I'm going with this. I think VR is going to be a key component here to onboard people. Some people speak about the mobile experience, and that this will be very important. I doubt that a little bit. I do not quite see myself playing Decentraland or being in Decentraland on my mobile phone. I think there are certain things you don't do on a mobile phone, but we're not going to get into the fundamental discussions here today. What else do we have? So the question was, what is the potential of Decentraland? And let me see if I have any more additional notes. Okay, so I think most of my points somehow relate to the economics of the game. And I think you cannot speak about economics of the game not mentioning a currency and the free exchange of goods. I think over the past 30 days we have all learned what it means for mana to have a very high price. I remember us comparing mana at 4 cents to it being at 12 cents. And now, once we have reached like 33 cents, you realize that commerce has completely stopped, but it actually has already stopped after we passed 10 cents in the first place. Some new accounts have purchased goods at a higher price, but none of the older accounts actually even bothered to relist their items. And this has also to do with the high fees that, I have certain bids on certain items that people cannot accept just because the fees are too high, which is kind of funny. So having mana as an exchange currency inside Decentraland more and more seems like a non-viable solution. It cannot be that a currency that we will use in the world where potentially real businesses will be based on, it cannot be that overnight it just loses 35% like it did yesterday. It just can't be. So we need to have a different solution here. First of all, it needs to be decoupled from its current role as being like the stock, the equity of the game, of the platform. People who are asking me what the potential of the game is, if their intent is to invest into mana or not, then we don't want that development. We don't want people who are not part of the community pumping up the price of mana, destabilizing all of the pricing schemes that we have, forcing everyone to recalculate their sales prices just for reversing it all after tomorrow. I mean, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to go buy your bread with your Tesla stocks when they're pumping. You're not gonna you're gonna die from starvation because you rather hold on to your stock than wasting it on food. So a currency needs to be different. It needs to function differently. And I'm not sure how this is going to be resolved, but I have a feeling that this whole layer 2 solution will somehow introduce another currency that might be used across all of the metaverses, that will be more stable, more liquid, with lower fees. I think there is going to be a solution that is imminent to be implemented. Mana is going to probably take a different role. And then again, I would like to ask people who are investing into coins, and like, why do you buy a coin? You are not guaranteed any kind of share in the business here. You are not. Decentraland does not produce revenue, or it does not pay dividends. It does not have a. It, it doesn't pay out anything to the shareholders. So the question is, when you buy a coin, the only upside that you have is that other people believe the same thing as you believe, that the coin should probably go up in price, but in reality, the coin doesn't go up in value. It's just a currency of a world that is not selling or buying anything. So there is no relationship between the success of the platform and the coin, other than everyone believing that there could be a relationship, right? This is your only way to gain exposure to the success of the platform. That's what you believe. And I think that's problematic. I think we need to find a way to step away from this fallacy. And if you do not agree, please do leave me a comment after the recording here. Let me quickly check if the recording is going all right. Yes, the recording is going fine. What other points do we have on the system here? Yeah, I think we have covered most of the points that I wanted to cover today. We have covered what's cool about being inside Decentraland, what we enjoy the most. We've covered all the economic components. I mean, we can cover the real estate a little bit, because this is maybe a vehicle where you could feel like you could gain some exposure to the success of the platform. I think right now, the other day we have made a recording on running across Decentraland. And when you run across Decentraland for 12 minutes, this is about how much time you need from one side to the other side. You get to see the landscape of Decentraland, and you get a feeling for how advanced we are compared to 12 months ago. And honestly speaking, I think there are a couple of areas, such as the one that we are seeing right now here on the screen. Aside from certain areas like that have been specifically dedicated to specific topics, and that have been populated by you know big names, let's say it like that, outside of these, it's still wasteland. It's still green wasteland with forest and nothing else. And you do get stuck running across the platform because the forest takes like a minute to load in certain areas, especially on big land plots. So the truth is, building is still not very advanced. Only, maybe 4 or 5 areas have been improved. The Genesis Plaza looks amazing. Some people have created amazing little plots for themselves. Overall, the platform is still empty. So now the question is, how is this going to go forward? Well, I don't know. I have been promoting building for quite some time now. I've been trying to promote the Builder tool, and I think other community members have created events around building stuff with the Builder tool that were quite successful. So we have seen that it's possible to create cool builds with the tools that we have. Then we have the bigger companies that have used, Blender to create their own amazing structures. And then we have various agencies and studios here in Decentraland that offer that service. So in theory, all the components to build the world are here. And it's still not really happening. And I'm providing free builds to populate your land as well. So I think the fundamentals are there, but it's still not working. And I think this is going to be a long and slow process for us to build out all of this land here, right? And let me see if I can open up the map here. So this is approximately the map today. As you can see, this is the area which is, built out a little bit. There are, districts that have been built out a little bit. Here we have a bit of action because there is actually a game going on consistently. So there's always some people there, but the rest is still not really alive. And I've tried to kind of talk about this in one of the previous videos of what's going to happen next. I feel like while this is going to be a long and painful process to build all of this out, the lands along the main streets are going to populate first and are going to be significantly more valuable than any kind of land inland, unless they're big plots and have their own ecosystem of sorts. So I think this we're going to see that everything around all of these roads is going to at some point be properly developed, and you will be able to walk along that street and you will be able to have a good time and feeling like you're in an urban environment. But as soon as you break through into the backs, I think all of these areas are going to be, really tough to populate before these areas are filled up. And I'm saying this because looking at the current development of the platform, how slowly it goes, um, I cannot make the case that the builders who do not have the finances are populating the wastelands and that the lands next to the streets are overpriced and are occupied by investors and that's why they're empty. No, they're all empty. So it's tough. I don't know how this is going to play out. I think it's a great investment for now to stick to the actual lands along the streets, unless you can afford a bigger plot outside, or unless you cannot afford, any land and you have to um, get something cheaper deep inside the wasteland. So I don't know. Cannot say how this is going to develop because many times we have been wrong. I mean, lands are still selling at 8, 9,000, even though the mana price went up to 20 and 30 cents. So there are some asymmetries in the market, and you don't know how people will behave. Especially new people coming in with fresh crypto money might not actually care about some of these expenses. But as long as people come in with the mindset of, you know, gaining exposure to the success of the platform by buying a plot and then flipping it, as long as this is the mindset, who is going to build this all out? I don't know. So I think the builders will eventually be forced to, stick to these areas that are already populated and build out and buy up properties next to streets and kind of create these urbanized areas. And then we will have 2 3 urbanized areas where everyone is trying to gather around. We will have the streets populated and everything else will remain probably just like investment wasteland over long periods of time, right? Until estates start to kind of emerge from individual lands and people start assembling those tiny lands because maybe there is going to be a higher value for estates, for larger estates, and there might be a premium to be made if you can collect little plots into larger plots. So we don't know how this is going to play out. But we are going way off topic here. I just wanted to cover that point as it was on the list. And then, of course, we cannot, get out of this conversation without mentioning the DAO, the voting system that seems to be a standard for any kind of community going forward in the decentralized world. It looks like everyone wants to implement the DAO and have the possibility of the community organizing itself, right? So today we do have this DAO, but it doesn't work because of the fees, of the high Ethereum fees. So as long as this is not switched to some kind of other currency, or some kind of other mechanism, this is not going to work. What else do we have? What else do we have? We've covered everything, man. Wearables. Yeah. All right, guys. I don't know. I think I have tried answering the question, what is the potential of Decentraland? I think I went there a little bit on a sidetrack trying to make sense of land prices and so forth. Is there anybody on the stream, and there are 6 people watching, who has any kind of comment, idea, what we would like to include in this video for people asking a question around what could be the potential of Decentraland? If you do have a question, please make the effort to type it in now. I think we are going to have to create these type of videos every couple of months as new things, as new, as things develop, as people will continuously have the same questions over and over again over the next couple of months. So we have Andrew McGreevy. I find gas fees extremely high, makes it tough per year to entry. Man, gas fees are an issue for every single project that I'm involved in. And the other day I sold an item, and this is the reason why I'm here with a naked torso. I sold my fur coat, my favorite fur coat, and I had to pay $100 to sell it. I accepted a bid for a friend, and it costed me $100 to accept that offer. Now, how ridiculous is that, right? So I agree with you. Fees are a problem, but from what I understand, a solution is coming, and everyone is hungry for that solution. Yeah, guys, I think if there are no more questions, I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't know if you enjoyed this kind of spontaneous live session on a rather difficult topic. If you have any questions, you can comment after the live session, or make sure to join me on Twitter, is at SwissDCL. You will find the link in the description. Anyone watching, if you're not subscribed to my channel, do subscribe so we get you on next time we relaunch that conversation. And if you want to support me, a like button hit will help spread the message a little bit around the community so we get more engagement. Guys, I wish you a great rest of the day, and thank you for tuning in. Take it easy.